Hey, how you doing, my friends? Here we are. It's Chat with Matt. What date is it today? It's the 22nd of January, 2020. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are in the world. I've got half an hour to spend with you guys and to talk about whatever might serve you, whatever feels good, whatever's we can help you with, basically. That's what we're here to do. Yeah. I just had a quick look. No one's written in anything ahead of time, so I am free-forming it to some people find this live stream and hop on and stimulate me with some questions. Ask me something. Go on. I dare you to. I was talking about... that's not it. Whoops. Sorry, I've opened my emails now, which is probably a silly thing to do, because I answered an email from someone yesterday and now I've completely forgotten what it was. It was about meditation, I remember that. Where the frig's that gone? I get so many emails, there it is, that things scroll through my life so quickly that it's very easy for me to miss out. Just quickly reading this again to remind myself I've answered it. But I thought I'd talk about it as well. So it's asking about meditation and whether I have personally had experiences in meditation where I've felt that I was being taken to places or pushed into experiences. Pushed is probably guided into experiences that my personality self, was really resistant to. My honest answer is no, not really, right? My meditative life has been reasonably easy, I believe. Well, for many years on the yoga path, it wasn't comfortable because I was seeing a lot of my own stuff arising. But for me personally, my relationship with Mantra is not one where they sort of order me around, or even they talk to me so explicitly. Really, I don't get a lot of direction. I don't hear anything and I don't see anything. So I work much more, I guess, what's the right word, innately or intuitively with Mantra. So I feel things. I feel, not just sensationally feel, but internally feel, which is, it is very vague because it is quite vague. I have a good relationship with Mantra, a strong relationship with Mantra, but it's not kind of like a human relationship with Mantra. I'm not like a medium. I don't see and hear spirit. I don't talk, well, I kind of talk to them, but I don't really talk to them in a conversational way. Which, and I understand some other people on this planet are a lot different. A lot of other quote-unquote spiritual people, or people who work as facilitators, have a much more direct line of communication. I work as a channel, so I allow myself to speak in order to answer people's questions without Matt having to think about what he's talking about. It just flows through me. So I guess a lot of the information that comes through from Mantra comes out my mouth when I'm answering other people's questions or facilitating for them, more than receiving information to benefit myself in that way. So my own sort of way of working with Mantra is really to allow myself to feel what I should do in a particular moment, and to allow myself to either choose whether I go with that or pike out and listen to my fear-based thoughts that are doubting and trying to stay safe and small. So I don't really get pushed. And during meditation, so what happens during meditation is I kind of zone out. I used to spend a lot of time, doing mantras and how I've been trained through the yoga path, but I don't do any of that anymore. My yoga path fell apart back in 2011, 2012. So now I basically sit down, close my eyes, allow myself to daydream until I zone out of the daydream and I'm gone, right? If I find myself looping thoughts that aren't high vibrational, for example, for want of a better term, hey, Brother Richard, if I find myself doing that, then I just come back to watching my breath, right? To just take myself out of the thoughts, not to fight the thoughts, not to stop the thoughts, but to just disengage a little from the thoughts, watch my breath until that thought stream is not having so much influence over me, and then just I stop concentrating on the breath and I'm gone and I'm out and I'm having an experience that's well beyond my mind. A lot of the time, my alarm goes or my timer goes and I've been sitting there for an hour and I don't know where that time's gone. So it's almost like I'm asleep, but I'm sitting up and I haven't fallen over. So I know I didn't go to sleep because I know what happens when I go to sleep when I'm sitting up. I'm not sitting up for much longer. Either I fall forward or I fall sideways. And it's an experience I have every now and again. I do fall asleep, but not so often, not anymore. I tend to just go to a place where I know, quote unquote, I know that there's a lot of energy shifting and a lot of alignment happening, but I'm not really conscious of it. Sometimes I am, sometimes I'm not. Sometimes I have a lucid experience in that that is profound and shifts my understanding of reality. But those are few and far between, really. Most of the time, my meditative practice is a time for me to just be out of my mind. Which is like a blessing for me because I have a very busy mind, like many of you, like many people on this planet. I have a very busy mind, and it's quite often busy being self-critical or fear-based, so to have time out of that and to just allow, so one of the techniques I use, and please ask a question, anyone who's popped on, right? I'm just here chatting, waiting for questions to arise, really. And I just thought of this last night when I was answering this email. Hey, I could talk more about this tomorrow, about my experiences in meditation, not to put myself on a pedestal. Perhaps I'm taking myself off the pedestal, more to the point, but to really just help other people understand that meditative experiences don't need to be, I'll use that term, don't need to be, a certain way. And certainly don't need to be the way I have meditative experiences. I think we all have the experience that best serves us, and the point is to relax into accepting that the experiences we're having are perfect for us and not needing to get caught up in the shoulds, right? In what other people have said, reading the scriptures, I poured over a lot of the, Vedas and Vedanta around, meditation, and a lot of the commentaries around what you should get out of meditation. When I was heavy into the yoga path, which is nearly 25 years ago now. I was just thinking this morning, I was actually talking to someone this morning about that in a call, that was 25 years ago, 1990, well, it wasn't, it was 24 years ago, but 1996. Anywho, I've completely lost the track and my train of thought, but talking about being out of my mind, meditate. That's right. One of the things that I'm doing at the start of my meditation when I'm following my breath is consciously choosing to breathe into both my solar plexus, so that I'm expanding the light that I be and really aligning with that foundation to bring some more confidence into my space, some more inherent essential me into my space. And I'm also choosing to breathe through my heart to consciously choose to open that channel of love vibration, to also hold my space in that nurturing care for myself, from myself, because that is pretty much the antidote to Matt's mentality, which is, I'm not good enough, nothing's working for me, I need to try harder. If I don't pull my socks up, I'm not going to survive, or at least thrive. I'm not going to succeed. So those are the thoughts that predominate in my mind based on how I've been indoctrinated through many lifetimes, in my belief. And the point is, you can't just click your fingers and get rid of that stuff, but you can, over time, overcome it to a point where it doesn't affect you nearly so much, but it's still there. And especially when you quieten yourself, close your eyes and take yourself inward, then you get to see these thoughts quite clearly, which can be a little bit disturbing, for those of us who distract ourselves throughout our day, keeping busy, to avoid this inner dialogue, our inner demons, to actually shut down and actually see it is confronting. but at the same time, it gives you a great opportunity to actually see it, acknowledge it, accept it, and not fight it. Because when you choose not to fight it, when you choose not to make it wrong, when you choose not to need to overcome it and prove yourself against these thoughts, they lose their power over you. I know it seems that if we surrender to something, then it wins, but it's not the case. When we surrender to something and don't bother fighting it, it has now lost its power over us. And so when you allow yourself to see the crap that's inside your mind space, the negative self-talk and all the rest of it, and choose to maintain neutrality towards it, right? Understanding that it's not the truth, so you're coming from that space right from the start. You're not needing to prove that it's not the truth because you know it's not the truth. Then you can just relax through that experience, stay in your heart, bathe yourself in compassion, and allow those thought patterns to lose even more power over you. Richard asked, is there a consistent emotional quality that you recognize accompanies a message that is being channeled? Yeah, sometimes, pretty much. Most of the time when I'm in channel, I am experiencing emotion. It's not always consistent though, because quite often I'm also picking up and transmuting, helping others on the other side of the conversation with their emotional state. So it's interesting that I'm aware of the emotion of the output, and I'm also aware of the emotion of the reflection. So as we shower someone with compassion and joy sometimes, then their reflection is quite often fear and doubt, or not good enough, or not lovable, not good enough, pain, grief, whatever is being aroused in them, whatever's being triggered in them, I feel that also. So it's an as the facilitator, it's an interesting dance to be aware of what my client is going through, and at the same time, so that I can hold compassion and I can have a level of understanding to what their response might be to the words that we are speaking to them, for them, because it's not wrong that we're triggering this pain from them. It's actually helping to release them. I tend not to try and figure out what I'm going to do about that. I just trust that the awareness coming to me is helping Matt, the human, find a compassionate space so that I'm not triggered by whatever might come out of their mouth, right? Because sometimes I can speak the most loving words to someone and they spit fire back at me, right? Because they feel they're triggered by it and they've got to release the pain. And that's okay as long as Matt, the person, doesn't, get triggered by that and think, oh my God, I've done the wrong thing, and then try and defend myself or something like that, because that's not going to help, right? Matt, the personality, has to stay out of the way. So yeah, I do feel the vibration of the message, what did you say? Emotional quality of the message, which, is usually compassionate, joyful. Sometimes it's very excited. Sometimes when I'm channeling for someone and talking about their potential to step forward, the amount of excitement in the potential that they have to reach, the amount of people that they could help, the amount of people that they could touch in an empowered way is very, very palpable for me. More so for them, I think. Sometimes I find myself, especially in clarity calls and stuff like that, when I'm talking with someone who's jumped on the phone to find out, how I can help them step forward into attracting more of their own clients. And I get really, really excited by what's channeling through me, because I can feel the potential for them to touch a huge number of people in a powerful and empowered way. And they are still sitting in their doubts and their fears that are getting triggered up, that I'm starting to talk about a grander vision that they don't feel capable of achieving yet. And so they're trying to downplay, right? And I'm sort of allowing an expression of a potential future to play out for them, so to help them get a bigger why, as opposed, because most people come and they want more clients because they need to make some more money, and they really do need to make some more money. We all do generally as facilitators. Not all of us, but many of us are looking to, achieve a level of financial prosperity where we think that we'll be able to relax because our survival needs will have been met adequately. It's an interesting balance, right? It's an interesting balance because I've seen in my own life, even though my income has climbed significantly, that your survival mentality doesn't necessarily go away with an increase of income, right? You could move the bar higher and higher and still keep worrying about the same shit, even though your situation's changed. It's the truth, right? It's the truth. And I've talked to people who have a huge amount of, huge in my mind, right? Are of quite a decent income, still in survival fear, still in that lack mentality. And so the point is, my friends, is we have to address that mentality rather than just try and get more money, thinking that if we have more money that we'll overcome that mentality. But anyway, the point being that we do this dance with people where we help to give them a bigger why as to why they're doing and what their potential is for stepping forward as a facilitator, and at the same time help them to more easily take just the very next step that's required to help them actually start to bring more income in their way. Hey, brother Glenn, how are you this morning? Feel free to ask a question. I'm talking about channeling and the emotions that come through, and I've sort of skewed sideways into how we work in clarity calls and bring through excitement into people's potential, and at the same time try and keep it real so that we're not just talking fluff and pie in the sky and new age euphorisms. Euphorisms? Is that how I say that word? But yeah, not just trying to make it all fluff and bubbles about how we're going to change the world, but what are the next steps to take to actually attract some clients who are going to pay us some money so that we can actually relax into being more of ourselves. And of course, one of those steps is to relax into being more of ourselves. So we need to put the horse before the cart and relax into a level of confidence that we can survive on this planet, so that it's more likely that we attract people who will pay us so that we do survive on this planet. Because if we're trying to attract the money to prove that we're going to survive, then the contraction of needing the money tends to make it harder to get it, right? So the more that we relax into a confident state when we are attracting clients, the more likely we are to attract them. It's that catch-22, right? I say just relax and trust a lot, but we have to trust before we relax. And it's very hard to trust if you're not relaxed, because until you relax, you don't really have very good connection with your intuitive guidance, which is where trust really comes from. Because you can mentally do the maths or the statistics about how likely something is to occur, but that's not really trust. That's probability, right? That's probability, which is a different thing, really. You look at the cause and effect, you look at the probabilities of something happening and say, well, I trust that it's going to happen because, according to my mind, my analysis is like 95% likely. We don't usually put a number there, but it's more than likely to happen, right? There's no reason why this shouldn't happen, therefore I'm going to trust it. Again, that's not really trust. Trust comes when you can't cognate whether something is or isn't going to happen, but you just feel in your heart, you feel in your gut that it is going to happen somehow, some way, and then you trust that. You trust a deeper sense beyond the cognitive mind. And of course, that deeper sense comes through much more clearly when we relax. And of course, as we relax, we start to feel more of it, we can trust more of it. And then when we feel we have that connection with ourself, with our intuitive guidance, that helps us to relax even more, because we don't need to stay so tense around needing to analyze everything with our mind, right? Which unfortunately, the way we've been trained in our world, our schooling and our society teaches us to use our mind to go and look for problems and then to try and overcome them so that we are more likely to quote unquote succeed or survive or whatever the objective is. But the problem is with doing that is our mind is usually inadequate, a tool. It doesn't have enough data to make a good rational decision about whether something is or isn't going to happen. So then we're left trying to cognate whether we can trust something, and we really don't know. It's like trying to cognate whether you can trust a person. You're trying to read the signs. You're trying to read their body language. You're trying to look at their shoes or whatever you use, the color of their socks, so they got matching socks or not, right? To determine whether you should trust them. It's very hard to tell with our minds, and so we stress ourselves out because we've given our mind a job to do that it doesn't have adequate data to do, right? Because the mind just runs in data. It collects data from the past to make a decision about what's safe or not right now. Oh, people like this have cheated on us before, therefore probability says we can't really trust this person. And it's a shame if we draw those conclusions, because then we start to allow our past to dictate our future. Because if you've already decided that people like this, whatever like this is, always cheat on you or are more likely to cheat on you, then you can't trust them, then basically so it is, right? Because you're never going to trust those people, and they never get a chance to change that belief system. So the belief is now self-prophesizing that those people are untrustworthy because you don't trust them, right? And so the point is to cut out of trying to cognate what you can and can't trust, and to allow yourself to feel into it more than cognate through it. I should drink. So it's interesting. I find that an interesting point of contemplation, and definitely something that I need to stay aware of as I walk through the world, because the first response to most situations is to try and cognate and understand it, because that's where the habitual training is. That's what we've been habituated to as humans, and it's what our society is telling us to do consistently. But I believe as we move forward into this new age, if you want to call it that, into this more expansive vibration that we're moving forward into on this planet, that we do have much more access to our intuitive knowing and our heart-based feelings and even our gut instinct, and more than ever, it's time to use those. And so to break the habit requires awareness. We need to be aware that we have a habit to try and do this thing with our mind, even though it doesn't work very well and it does cause stress. Just the fact that it doesn't work very well causes stress, because our mind tries really hard to get it right. And in trying really hard, it uses a lot of our energy, and it quite often goes into overwhelm because it's trying to analyze this data that's incomplete. And so it's utilizing a lot of its CPU, if we talk in computer terms, and we take ourselves to this level. Then one other thing happens in our external world. We go, I can't cope with that right now, right? Because I'm trying to figure out whether I can trust something that I don't have enough data to work out whether I can trust. And so, a child comes to you to ask for help with something, and I can't deal with that right now, right? You go into overwhelm, you go into a stress state, you go into an emotional triggered response, which is unfortunate, especially when it's directed towards a child. It doesn't have to be that way. It's a matter of slowly starting to become aware that we drive ourselves into these stress loops by trying to cognate things, trying to figure things out. I just need to figure this out, right? And get out of that and go, I just need to give myself some space so I can really feel into whether this is the right thing to do. Put your headphones on and go and lie down for 15 minutes and listen to something soothing, right? And take yourself out of your mental concerns and allow yourself to find a deeper connection with who you are, and I use the term the light or the essence of you, because that gives you a far stronger foundation to make a good choice about what action to take in this situation, because that's what it comes down to. You're trying to figure things out so that you can take an action with a degree of confidence. You want to have some confidence that it's going to work, right? It's going to be a good outcome, that you're not going to fail or get hurt or whatever, right? Whatever that means. Getting hurt can quite often be emotionally hurt in the getting rejected or having a failure experience, or the disappointment of not having the outcome that your mind expects and wants, but to rather sort of relax through all of that and trust that whatever the outcome of an external action is, it's serving you, because you took that action from an intention that it was going to serve you. Your intentions are really powerful. When you settle into your own intention, that things are going to serve you, no matter what the outcome is, no matter how the outcome looks in an external viewpoint, right? Quite often it might look like a mistake or a failure because you didn't, get the money, get the girl, get the whatever, win the prize, get the recognition that you wanted, whatever it might be. But generally, if you had an intention that taking those actions was going to serve you, then it will have served you. You've walked through a process that's helped you get a deeper understanding of yourself, or learn something, or release something. Quite often, the process of having a unpleasant outcome quite often serves us in that it helps us to understand that we go on, that the outcome is not the definition of who we are. There's lots of reasons why, failing is not a bad thing. Fail fast and fail forward is something, a lot of successful people live by. It's about being willing to take action, even though the external success is nowhere near guaranteed. And if we do not achieve that external success, we learn from it. And so we fail forward. We basically take the lessons of that failure and move forward with it. We go again, we try it again with a new understanding or a new state of being we bring to it, a new energy we take to that, those action steps towards an outcome, right? When we hold our outcome more loosely around the idea that I want to be, happy, purposeful and prosperous, right? As opposed to I want to win this client because that will prove that, then I'll get the money and then I'll be happy and then I'll feel purposeful, right? When you take the emphasis off the specifics of the action, I want to win this client, into I'm choosing to take these actions because I know it's going to help me be happy, purposeful and prosperous, then it's different. Because if we don't win the client, we understand, hey, that didn't go the way I wanted it mentally, but I know that it served me to move forward in some way. I've shifted some energy. I've created a new contact. I didn't win this client this time, but perhaps this has opened up avenues. They challenged me in a way that's going to help me understand the process a bit more and help me speak more to that point in the future. Everything works for us if we have the mindset that it's working for us, if we hold the perception that it's working for us, the belief, right? What we believe is how our life comes. And you can't just believe pie in the sky stuff and expect that to work for you, right? You need to ground it into practicality and into believability. You can't just say, I believe that I'll get paid because I'm a top bloke, if you don't really believe that. Saying it's not enough, right? Beliefs are much more than saying something. Yeah, you have to bring that energy in, and it takes time. And saying it helps, of course. Saying it helps, but it's not the be end and end all. How am I going, my friends? I've kind of chewed up 30 minutes here and haven't really answered. I'm trying to use my mouse on my phone. Haven't really answered many questions because there weren't many questions. Which is okay. I'm glad it helped, Richard. Whatever I said about that. Oh, yes, right, emotional qualities that you channel through. So I guess one of the things, I'm just reading behind that question a little bit, is one of the things that I don't do is look for any proof that what I'm channeling is good, right, and proper. Because a lot of people say, if you're channeling the truth, it'll feel really good to you. And I get that, and it's kind of true. It feels good to you, but it doesn't necessarily come with a vibration of joy. It doesn't necessarily come with a high vibration, because quite often when I'm channeling through, I'm getting overrun by what I'm triggering in the client. So what's most important for me, and I'll come back to the same point, is that I'm holding an intention that what I'm channeling through is serving my client, or serving the group or whatever I'm doing, right? It's serving my audience right now. And I trust that implicitly. And I don't go looking for proof that that's what's happening. Because as soon as you start looking for proof, you've basically sowed the seeds of doubt. If you need to ascertain that you're doing something properly, you're basically maintaining an idea that perhaps you're not. And I just choose not to go there, especially with my channeling. I do it with a lot of other things, but not channeling, right? When I'm channeling, I implicitly trust that what I'm channeling is of the highest light and most benefit to my clients. And thus far, it always has been. Because that's my intention. That's the intention I've held right from the get-go. And I don't ascertain any belief that anything other than that could happen. And so I've always had good outcomes there. Never, ever had to find myself in a situation where I'm worried about, because a lot of people worry as a channel that you're going to start channeling something that's dark or malevolent in some ways. And from my point of view, that is just not an option. It's just not an option. And so it is, right? So I'm safe because there's no other option. And some people might say, well, that's really naive, but it's my best protection. So you can call it naive if you want, but as soon as you hold the doubts that perhaps something dark could be channeling through you, then you've basically just opened yourself up for something dark to channel through you, right? Because if it can happen, it will happen. And in my view, it can't happen, so it won't happen, right? Call it naive if you like, but it's worked for me over the last 6 years. So hopefully that helps those of you who are worried. You know, and it's not just about channeling verbally, it's about doing any sort of healing work. Really, if you're starting to worry that maybe you're going to mess someone up in doing your heart-based service work, then chances are you might mess someone up. You have to implicitly trust that if you're showing up with the intention to serve someone and help someone by doing any sort of healing, coaching or facilitation work, then that's exactly what's happening. Even if the client doesn't recognize it, even if the client thinks that what you've done has gone off track or this didn't feel good to me. Yeah, I know it doesn't feel good to you because I'm stirring the shit out of you because you need to release it. But the point is not to put doubt upon yourself and think that you weren't doing the right thing. Just because your client didn't like it doesn't mean it wasn't the right thing. And I know it sounds arrogant and it sounds cocky and all of the rest of it, but truly, it is of the highest light to operate in that mode. It's not that my shit doesn't stink. It's not that I can't do wrong. But when I'm working as a channel, when I'm working as a facilitator, I know that no matter what the client's experience was, that I was serving them. And that's it. And that's how it is. And that's how it will always be. Okay, my friends, I'm going to end it on that note. Hopefully that little bit of information has helped many of you who are aspiring or are facilitators already and have to deal with doubt. Not that Matt doesn't have doubt. I have doubt all of the time in my mind, but I just do not let that get out of hand, right? Especially when I'm in the process of facilitating. It's just not an option. I just recognize it for what it is. Mental bullshit, right? Mental doubt, getting triggered from within myself, right? But truly I know that what it is, and it's not the truth. Anyway, my friends, much love to you all. Hopefully this was helpful. That was Chat with Matt for this week. I'll speak to you again next week. Same time, same place. Bye for now.